Unintentionally discovering my wife's infidelity, I later uncovered their clandestine plan, a rendezvous at a secluded mountain hotel. Intriguingly, I secured a room adjoining theirs and invited Trevor's wife. The following day, we caught them off guard with our cunning trap. My wife Dana and I resided in a Denver suburb where my cleaning and maintenance company serviced commercial properties. Our premier account was an upscale restaurant owned by Caroline, a prominent Denver socialite who inherited the chain from her father. The business was primarily managed by Trevor, a sophisticated, narcissistic, handsome man who merely served as the public face of the brand, reliant on his wealthy wife's funds and connections. My Dana worked at the restaurant as an event coordinator, overseen by Trevor, with her evening obligations often keeping her late at work, which eventually became our customary routine. That night, Dana informed me about an upcoming banquet, suggesting she would return home late. I ate dinner alone and went to bed early. A call roused me from sleep later. My phone was vibrating on the nightstand. It was the night shift supervisor of the cleaners, who at that hour were working at the restaurant where Dana worked. The employee sounded anxious as he reported finding Dana in the manager's office with the lights on and the door slightly ajar. I listened silently, struggling to comprehend the information received. He shared a brief video he recorded for me through the door crack, signaled by my phone's quiet beep in bedroom silence. Upon opening the messenger, I found a 15-second clip that left no room for doubt. My wife was unfaithful with Trevor. My marriage, trust, and shared history evaporated on the dark screen, replaced by a tempest of anger and pain. With an effort, I inhaled deeply, then exhaled slowly. Calmly addressing my employee over the phone, I instructed, "Complete the dining room's cleaning, leave the office untouched. I'll manage it myself." Abandoning the bed, I sat at the window chair, gazing upon the silent, dark street. Dana was still absent, and I no longer anticipated her return. My phone rested on my knees, casting a dim light around the room. I repeatedly played the 15-second video, enduring the painful details until they ceased to ache. My wife and Trevor seemingly believed that their work-related activities provided an ideal cover for their actions. I wrestled with what action to take concerning this recording, my mind swirling with possibilities. The predictable response of a wronged husband felt insufficient and immature. Creating a commotion or discarding Dana's belongings would only buy them time or offer opportunities to fabricate excuses. Instead, I required a more strategic approach, one that was decisive and well thought out. I concluded that Caroline needed to be informed about the truth regarding her restaurant's activities after closing hours. As the clock struck 2 a.m., I heard the front door. In Denver, I was in my office examining ongoing cleaning contracts when a soft knock came at my door. Previously employed by me for nearly 5 years, Leo, once an unassuming member of the cleaning staff, had undergone a significant transformation. He now wore an elegant jacket, sported a fashionable haircut, and maintained a well-kept appearance. His financial status and life appeared to have undergone considerable improvement since our last encounter. I raised an eyebrow in bewilderment, unsure of his intentions. Confidently striding into my office, Leo sat down opposite my desk without preamble or inquiries about work-related matters. He divulged that he now operated as a high-end escort, catering to wealthy female clients. Yesterday, he had received a peculiar, detailed job proposal, and he implied this information concerned my family. If I showed interest, he was prepared to disclose the truth. His tone suggested a substantial remuneration was involved. I pulled open the upper drawer of my desk, retrieved numerous $100 bills and placed them before him, indicating for him to carry on. Leo swiftly counted the money, tucked it into his coat pocket, and began speaking. Just a few days prior, he had been covertly employed by my wife Dana. She had made contact with him through reliable intermediaries and scheduled a private meeting. Dana concisely outlined the task without excessive information. Over the weekend, a wealthy woman named Caroline would be residing at a hotel in the mountainous town of Estes Park. Leo was instructed to appear in her room wearing a robe, carrying champagne, pretending to be an unintentional guest. He was required to film a video with this woman. Thus, Leo was tasked with affixing a small camera to his robe and capturing footage of Caroline in a highly incriminating situation. Leo immediately comprehended that some underhanded scheme was being orchestrated. I thanked him and obtained his phone number. I observed Leo departing from the office, then remained motionless for some moments. I proceeded to access the website of a hotel in Estes Park on my laptop, an opulent mountain resort overlooking the national park. With only a few days until the weekend, if Leo was honest, immediate action was required. Retrieving Caroline's work number from my phone, I hesitated before dialing. She could disbelieve me. She might think I was embroiling her in a family dispute. However, there was no other option. I called. An hour later, we convened at a modest eatery in downtown Denver. I presented Caroline with the night video of Dana and Trevor, revealing all that I had uncovered about their deceptive scheme for the weekend. Caroline watched the recording without interruption or questions. When it concluded, she merely placed the phone down gently and stayed quiet for a while. Recalling events as if they were happening all over again, I shared with her everything I'd learned from Leo, the meeting with Dana, the concealed camera, the journey to Estes Park, and the orchestrated plan to create a scandalous scene in a hotel room. Shocked but quickly regaining her composure, Caroline admitted that Trevor had indeed proposed she spend some time at the Mountain Hotel in Estes Park. He had reserved the room for her and persistently urged her to take a break from work. Caroline grasped clearly why Trevor sought incriminating footage. Having inherited the restaurant chain from her father, any infidelity allegation against her could potentially give Trevor claim over an unjust share of their joint assets and business under their prenuptial agreement. If he could successfully present evidence of her infidelity, he would have a chance to seize what was never rightfully his. As our conversation unfolded, their scheme became increasingly apparent. It wasn't just leisure, but a covert preparation for divorce and asset division. In the restaurant, we spent nearly 2 hours deliberating. By the meeting's end, we had formulated a counter-strategy. Stepping out of the eatery, we possessed sufficient intelligence to put our plan into motion. Subsequently, I met with Leo. I outlined in depth the adjustments required at the hotel, details that needed alteration, and how events would unfold further. Leo paid close attention, occasionally seeking clarity, and when I concluded, he merely smirked and nodded his head. The new turn of events seemed to captivate him significantly more than the initial one. As agreed, I handed over the double compensation, which he promptly pocketed, bid farewell, and departed. All that remained was the wait until the weekend. That night at home, Dana informed me she was heading to Estes Park over the weekend. One of her clients required an on-site consultation for organizing a big wedding, and she needed to inspect the mountain resort personally. I merely smiled serenely, embraced her, and wished her a successful journey. Dana appeared confident that her plan was unfolding as intended. The following morning, Dana departed for Estes Park. Leo phoned me around midday, mentioning he was meant to visit Caroline at 9 p.m. by 6. I had already arrived at the hotel. Caroline had checked in earlier and spent the entire day in her room resting. Leo and I decided that after 9, he would contact Dana and tell her the video was prepared and waiting for her in his room next door. Earlier, I'd reserved that room with champagne and fruit for him. Around 9 p.m., Caroline and I quietly made our way to the restaurant and occupied a pre-reserved private dining area. Simultaneously, we noticed Trevor casually entering the main dining area. He leisurely traversed the room, settling at a table near the center, ordering coffee and engrossing himself in his device. It was evident to us that Leo was capturing a video of Caroline which would potentially incriminate her. After approximately an hour, my phone subtly vibrated. A message from Leo appeared on the screen, which I opened to find a video. Initially, Caroline and I remained quiet as we watched the recording. The entire incident in the room was plainly visible. Caroline promptly sent the video to Trevor, who immediately received it. Within a minute, we observed Trevor frozen, clutching his phone. First, he scowled, then stiffened, unwaveringly staring at the screen. It was apparent that he was witnessing an unexpected sight. The recording displayed Dana in Leo's arms, and it had been sent by his wife, Caroline. Trevor remained still for some time, seemingly pondering the events unfolding. I rose slowly from the table and hastened towards the stairs. Caroline and I shared a glance and followed him swiftly. Upon reaching the room, we could already hear Trevor's intense voice echoing in the hallway, permeating the entire floor. Liar. You manipulated me, attempted to dismantle my family, only to find solace with the first man you encountered. As Caroline and I entered the room, our presence startled Trevor like a sudden cold shower. He paused abruptly, mid-sentence, and stiffened, unsure of what to say next. Upon seeing his wife, his countenance shifted dramatically. The anger dissipated as swiftly as it had appeared, replaced by the familiar visage of a man grappling to salvage the situation. Trevor moved towards his wife, speaking rapidly. "Caroline, darling, I vow, it's not as you perceive." In a chilling manner, she accused you of blackmailing me. She warned that our business would crumble if I didn't reveal the truth. I was searching for a means to confide in you, but I was at a loss. Caroline coolly addressed you, stating that you sought a recording of my infidelity to gain leverage over the restaurant, but instead you got a recording of your mistress. "Now enjoy revisiting those moments as many times as you wish," she added, reminding you of your happier days. The room fell silent following her words. Trevor hung his head and ceased justifying himself, realizing that his excuses would be futile. Dana, who had been sitting quietly on the bed throughout, listened to her lover's confused explanations in silence. Her scheme was thwarted. Caroline and I exited the room and made our way to the restaurant. We paid off Leo for his assistance, thanked him, and left the hotel. Caroline chose not to publicly escalate the situation to protect her restaurant's and family's reputation. Her legal team presented a divorce settlement to Trevor, which he signed and left the state permanently. His career within Caroline's restaurant chain came to an end. Dana and I divorced amicably, understanding that any court proceedings would likely involve the release of our recordings. She discreetly relocated to a rented apartment. A month later, my company secured a long-term service contract for Caroline's entire restaurant chain, providing significant opportunities for future growth. Should the main character have devised such a strategy or simply filed for divorce following that night's recording and moved on? Share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe for more intriguing stories to come.